Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Going OB Golf Podcast with me, Craig. Before we get started, I've got a guest this week and I'm very excited to get a chat with her. I want to put out a quick message. My friend Tara, who plays on the LET Access Tour, her mum has just recently been diagnosed with motor neurons disease. I was highlighted to the fact that a number of the ladies on the tour are undertaking a Drive for MND challenge, which they'll be doing for the next couple of months. And they've got an event being held at a driving range in Hawick in the Scottish Borders on the 28th of October. So I reached out to Tara just to get a bit more information, and I just quickly want to put, just kind of draw your attention to it, really. There's a Just Giving page for it, and I'm going to put that in the description notes. So anybody that's able to give anything, I know it would be very much appreciated. So Tara's mum, Claire, was born in Winton-on-Sea, which is down south, as they say, and she moved to Hawick. So what they've done is they've worked out that is a 338-mile trip from Winterton-on-Sea to Hawick, which is equivalent of 594,880 yards. So what they're planning on doing is using TrackMan and shot scopes and flight monitors, anything from the driving ranges, to cover that distance in golf balls. So, golf drives, sorry. So that's going to be ongoing, and it's going to be finished off by an event on Monday the 28th of October at Ashkirk Driving Range, which is in the Borders. So I'm going to post a bit of information about it in the Just Giving link on the pages from here. I'll put a bit on the social media. They do have a hashtag, which is Drive for MND. So if anybody wants to take part, obviously to raise some awareness, it's for the MND, make sure I get the right one here, MND Scotland and the Doddy Foundation that they're raising money for. So I'll put the link in the description. Please check it out. If you can give them a hand, then please do that. So that is the important part of today. I'm not saying that Danielle is not an important part of what's happening today, but we needed to cover that one. So as you will know, when I set up this part of the podcast, I was going to try and get some interviews with people, real people who have played a bit of golf and who all have stories. So reached out. Well, I was talking to a friend who turns out to be a mutual friend, and she said, you should get my pal Danielle on your podcast, Craig, because she's got the right personality for it. She's played on the Ladies European Tour. She ticks every single box that you need. Get in touch with her. So I reached out about a couple of months ago. We couldn't quite make things work at that point, but we have made it work today. So Danielle, thanks for taking the time to come on the Going OB podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, and thank you very much for having me on here. It's fine. Like you said, a couple of months ago, we had a conversation and it didn't quite work out at that point. But yeah, it's nice to be on here. I'm slightly nervous, but I'm also really excited.
Just two new pals having a chat, and Tracy vouched for you and said you were good people. So if Tracy says you're good people, you must be good. You must be good people. Yes,
good.
Yes.
That's
is
nice
that the dog
to know.
coming back in again? Is it?
That was the dog coming back in, yeah. And she's underneath the desk right now, so yeah.
The desk troll.
We call her the desk
kids
troll.
that come in as soon as I'm doing this.
Yeah.
None of them are interested in spending any time with me. And the minute I decide I need to jump on here to do a podcast, particularly when I'm doing one where I'm interviewing somebody else and it's not just me rabbiting on, is the time that they all want to ask me a question.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yes.
It's always the way, though. So
I believe you obviously sent me a bio. You are a former Ladies European Tour player. Is that correct?
I certainly am. Yeah, I had 6.5, 7 years where I was a member of the tour, and yeah, just really, really enjoyed my time. It was very much a natural progression from amateur golf, early years amateur golf and county golf and things like that for me to then progress into the professional ranks in 2004. And I was very fortunate that I was able to. There we go. Exactly what we were talking about. Good boy. Close the door. So yeah, it was a natural progression, really. And the Ladies European Tour was fantastic. I think I sent you a bio yesterday, which is really unusual because I don't really talk about golf. Was such a long time. It was such a long time away from when I last did it and last had that lifestyle. You know, I'm now a mum of 2, and life is very, very different. But it was absolutely fantastic. A lot of the girls that I played golf with out on tour, I played amateur golf from the age of about 14 with. We played in all the different international opens from the age of 14 all over Europe. And then a few of them obviously turned professional, and that was already sort of like a ready-made family out on tour. So I was incredibly lucky to have that sort of support out there.
They do say that the way that's the hardest part of being on tour. Whenever you listen to, I know Bob McIntyre, for example, he's spoken about moving out to the States this year so that he could compete in the PGA Tour, and he's just like, the differences between PGA Tour and the European Tour is that the European Tour is more like a family. Whenever I watch any of the Ladies Tour events, it always looks like it's a big family event, and although you're competing against each other, there does seem to be a big kind of, we all want each other to do well.
Yeah, I think you really do. I think especially that you've known these girls since you're 14 and 15, and you have probably all have very, very similar struggles and victories and all of the things that go with the ups and downs of playing golf as a career. It's very rare, even in one golf round, that you will have a golf round that is full of just excellent experiences. You've got to learn to deal with the good, the bad, the ugly. And you can rest assured that pretty much everybody else has been through that. So I think there's that sort of connection. I mean, I've tried to get my ladies' American tour card, the LPGA tour card, twice. So I went out there. I missed it by one the first time I went out there, and it wasn't because I still had my ladies' European full tour card. It wasn't lucrative for me to go out and stay out there because the jump is so big and so vast, and it is incredibly scary. So yeah, the Ladies European Tour, fantastic, real family event. I think they still have everything set up for the ladies, and I just had such a good time out there. Really, really good time. I had some really good friends that I'm still in contact with. And they come down and see the kids, and they're like, whoa, that is a very different lifestyle. But it's, you know, they also like to shimmy on back to their lifestyle a few days later.
Aye. I'm sure there seems to be a bit at the moment where, was it Lydia Ko, I think, recently spoke about, she's obviously got a desire to start a family and things, and it's not something that, as a guy who watches or follows golf, that you realise, you know, that these guys just seem to play straight from college all the way through. They go on the tours. You forget that on the ladies' side of the game, you know, some of you want to be mums, so you need to stop playing for however long. And there's a body clock over on this side of the tour that definitely ticks on. And if it's something that I knew I always wanted children by the time I was 30. So I was 2004. I turned pro. That was only going to give me X amount of years until I was hoping to want to have a family. I've been with my husband since I was 16. So I was lucky in the fact that I had a relationship that was very stable before I went on tour. He obviously knew me when I was playing golf for England. He knew the regime. He knew how much time I put into it, how much time needed to be dedicated to it. He was used to having periods of time without me being around. So there was no worry or angst of me being out on tour and him being back here. But like you said, you know, there's a body clock thing here that, yes, everyone's having children much later, but I knew I didn't want to leave it too late. Mine was cut short by 4 years by injury, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm incredibly lucky to have experienced the things I've experienced on tour, and now to obviously be a mum and have that and finally get back into golf a year and a half ago. You can pick back up again, because there's no... I think a lot of sports, you get old, like football, for example, rugby, all these type of ones, you get to a certain age and you're like, right, I really need to kind of think about hanging it up. But golf, you can put down and pick back up again. So I just want to quickly go back to your start of your career, because you sent me this bio, and I thought it was quite interesting that the reason you took up the game was because you were fed up staying home with your mum when your dad and your brothers were out.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. Do you know? I've got to say, my mum's brilliant company, and we get on. She's like a best friend. But you know, when you're growing up, and I was such a tomboy. You know, I played football. I played basketball, darts. You know, all of those sort of things, table tennis. You know, my brother said it wasn't like growing up with a sister. It was like growing up with a boy, another brother. That because if he wanted to go out and play football, I was like, yeah, I'll come out and play football with you. Or, you know, we'd play tennis. So yes, on the Saturdays that they would go out and play golf with sometimes my granddad and uncle as well, I would be like, I'm here and we're dusting, hoovering, and cooking for their meal on a Saturday night. I was like, no, this is not what I want to do. And so mum and I were like, let's go to the driving range. So we both went off to the driving range, and I had like a little left-handed hickory shafted 7-iron, the ones that had like the little dimples as the grooves rather than the lines. And so I had this left-handed hickory shafted 7-iron that I just used to like wallop it down the driving range. And we would just do that, not every Saturday, but just on the odd occasion. And then on this odd occasion, Iris Smith, this old lady that was coming up the 9th hole, sort of came over with an electric trolley, and she was like, does she play golf? And mum says, well, no, just at the driving range. She's never been on a course. And she was like, oh, we'll get her into county training, like just to see how she gets on. And that it was just a whirlwind. Within 3 months of being introduced to that, I got a letter through to say, did I want to do Southeast Regional training? Then they said, I think, you know, you look so ambidextrous. Let's see what you look like swinging it right-handed. And I started doing that, and it was absolutely fine because I can still swing a club left-handed and make contact. So and I can throw a ball with both hands, and, you know, I can write with both hands and things like that. So it didn't feel completely alien. Let's put it that way. It felt strange, but it didn't feel completely alien. And because golf was still so new, I just made that switch there and then. So yeah, that's how it started.
Well, I've tried to get my son into the game. He's 13, but he's just like football daft. So golf's too slow for him. However, my daughter, she's 7. She really enjoys it. So she comes to the course with me. She's got a couple of wee clubs that I've managed to pick up for her. And in fact, we played a couple of weekends ago, myself and my pal Dan, and we just went, Roxy came with us. So we went out, we just hit our shots and just continued to walk. And she just stands on the tee and just batters balls down and follows us and followed us. Then when she gets to the point where she's tired, she jumps on, like I've got a electric buggy thing. She just jumps on that because there's nothing over, and she just gets trundled all the way down the fairway. So she's quite happy. So she might be the one.
See, that's lovely.
She might be the one that comes good for me and becomes my golf partner in the future. I'm still holding out some hope for that, because she does.
Absolutely.
She's very into her dancing things. She was away at competition today. She's here, there and everywhere. So it would be quite a good wee bonding experience for me to do stuff like that with her, because it's a couple of hours and I take her and get her a juice and a bit of cake afterwards. I actually think that's the real reason she comes. It doesn't make any real, but
do you know what? There's some. Yeah, the cake and the cup of tea afterwards. I used to absolutely love that. That always used to be a thing, like monthly medals with lady golfers. You'd complete your like monthly medal and you'd go into the clubhouse, you'd have a cup of tea and then the slice of cake from underneath the glass lid. And it would be whichever one it was that the kitchen had made that week or whatever. And oh God, I used to love it so much. It was so nice. I think that's probably why I stayed at it for so long. I was like, cup of tea and cake, yes, please.
Yeah. If you're not getting paid for it, at least you can get yourself a cup of tea and a bit of cake. That's all the good one.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Now it's a gin and tonic.
So got to the age of 18, and you were representing England. So that is quite a meteoric rise from where you started to representing your country.
Yeah, I mean, I actually started representing England at the age of 13. I played in my first event for England, so I was only in the setup about a year and a half, and I got chosen as one of the 2 girls, 2 boys to represent England in the European Team Championship over in Ivorivari in Italy. And that was a fantastic experience. I think from there, I just knew that, wow, I want to do the traveling, the golf. It was absolutely phenomenal. There's a funny story actually, and I'm sure I've told Zane Scotland, because Zane Scotland and David Porter, I cannot for the life of me remember the girl, because she played in that event and then she wasn't really in the setup anymore. And I tried to look for her name yesterday, but it has eluded me. So please forgive me if anyone does eventually listen to this and knows who that young girl was that came out with me. Fantastic. But when my mum and dad drove me to the airport, they walked in and Zane Scotland was there with his dad and David Porter was there with his mum and dad. Now, Zane is a good-looking chap. David Porter was a good-looking chap. But David Porter at 13 was full stubble. Full stubble. He looked like a man. I'm jealous of the kids. And I remember my dad looking at me going,
see this bit of scruffy beard I've got here? This is taking me about 3 weeks to grow this, and I'm a 40-year-old man. And I'm a 40-year-old man. So kids are growing up so fast.
Yeah. So this is it, right? My dad's a bit the same. I'm not really much stubble either. And my dad looked at my mum and he was like, "She's not going away with these two," because they look like men already at the age of 13, 14. They were so tall and they looked like proper men. And it was not the day and age where you had mobile phones and you were in contact the whole time. And the England setup issued us 2 wonderful people as chaperones, but they were in their like mid-60s. It was such a fantastic event. I think that sparked my love of travel, playing golf, representing my country. I don't think there's anything better. For women, it was the pink blazer, the white shirt, and the little blue like court shoes you had to wear. First outing, first drink I had, chocolate milkshake, straight down, my white T-shirt and my pink blazer. And that was it. That was my uniform for the week. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to wear my T-shirt on back to front. And I was just like, I was like, this is it. This is just how it's going to be. Like, but yeah, so I think and then at 16, I sort of progressed. I think by the time I was 13, I was playing off scratch. And then I was off plus handicap. I played off +4 by the time I ended up turning pro, which is not the same as a +4 handicapper nowadays because the handicap system's changed so much.
More now or less? Would it be more or less now then?
Yeah, you'd probably, I don't know because I'm not that au fait with it, but how I understood it when I spoke to a couple of the coaches that I use now is that it would be classed as like a +6 or +7, something like that. But to be honest, I still find that completely unbelievable. +4, I think, is, it's doable. But we're talking +4 off of amateur tees, even though they were international events, they're not pro tees. So that was a huge awakening, actually, to be shooting comfortably like 4 under, and then you go, just shout, hey? Just we're just that's right. If it's not the kids, it's the husband. And I think that was a thing when you get on tour, the courses are so much longer. And the competition is the depth of competition. I mean, you obviously get the people that finish top 5, top 10 pretty much week in, week out. They're your great European players. But yeah, you definitely did see a big difference in going from amateur, even high, like top end amateur, to going out on tour.
There's a lot of people that think
there's a big difference.
If I just get to scratch, I can go try and compete in tour events. And there's folk as well turn pro off of Walk 2 and stuff like that as well. And then when you look and hear the stories, particularly being in this golf world with the podcasting and stuff, you hear about guys that are like +4 and 5 and they're not even making the cut the weekend for these things. So the gulf between like amateur, elite amateur, pro, and then elite pro is massive.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely huge. I mean, there's just so many layers and ladders to climb. We're not only talking about mental ladders as well. I mean, I was incredibly lucky. I before I went out on tour, I made some really good connections with some companies that supported me. I didn't have financial worries. I had my tour school paid for. I had a clothing sponsor. I was sponsored by Oakley from the age of 16. I've been with Ping since I was 16. I had Scandinavian clothing companies. I had a language learning company that supported me. I had a big club, Chart Hills Golf Club, that supported me financially to play on tour. So that I was so grateful for. But I also made sure that they didn't just give me money, that they got value from me. Like if they needed me for anything, it was never a chore. I was super grateful. I'd always make time for anybody that had helped support me, because I saw the struggle of other girls that didn't have that support. And then that mental strength of, oh my goodness, if I don't make top 15, I actually don't cover my costs. I mean, to be honest with you, some of the events that you'd play in when I was on tour, if you weren't top five, you weren't covering your costs. You weren't covering hotel, entry, food, accommodation, hotel, accommodation, flights. You that's how hard it got at one point out on the Ladies European Tour. The breakdown of the cost was just absolutely diabolical.
And that cost thing comes up all the time, doesn't it? Like the male versus women's sport, and what you should be getting paid for what you should be getting paid for what you're doing. It comes out, I think, but it's certainly other pros that I've spoken to through previous iterations, or ones that you watch on videos, they all say the same thing. Like it's you don't make the weekend, you're not eating, and you're not paying, and you still forget you've got
that's right,
caddy to pay, you've got the hotel that you've booked for the last 2 days, you've got all the stuff. So I think a lot of people just think, oh, you've turned pro, you go out on tour, you just try and play and make some money, but you suppose you've got to have a business head on you as well, or somebody to run that back for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we call it the bread and butter days. Bread and butter days are your winter time events that you do. I used to have a couple of guys that they would pay me for, like, sometimes in excess of 1,500 quid for a day, and I would meet them at Wentworth at 7 o'clock with their probably 2 best clients. So it would be the owner of the company, myself, and then their 2 best clients. And I'd get there at 7. We'd have breakfast. We'd play 18 holes. We'd come in, have some lunch, maybe a couple of whiskies, and then we'd go out in the afternoon. And I would entertain, help, coach, and make sure that they just had a really good day. And I absolutely loved that. I actually never saw that as a chore, because I can banter with the best of people. I definitely find male humour far funnier than anything else, and that sometimes makes me a bit of Marmite with other females. But you go on a ladies tour, and they all have my sense of humour, so that was never an issue. So I loved those sort of bread and butter days where you went and entertained clientele on a day, and that was fantastic. That never felt like a chore for me.
Like you said, it is something you need to do. You've got these sponsors; they're helping you out, so you need to be reciprocating. Yeah, exactly.
Tip top.
So you played the Curtis Cup as well, yeah? You did. Yep.
I certainly did. Yeah. So represented Great Britain and Ireland from the age of 16. Played the Vagliano Trophy, which is like a Curtis Cup warm up over in Ireland. That is Great Britain and Ireland versus Europe. I was fortunate enough to hold the winning putt on that, and that I was dead, because I was always last out in the singles.
Why is that? Is that a strategy thing? Is that we need somebody to bring home the last point? We trust her.
I think it's kind of that thing. It's either that, or she's dumb and doesn't understand the pressure. That's not the case. I did understand the pressure, but I can just kind of, I really thrive on, I when I was much younger, not so much now, but I used to really thrive on that pressure. I loved all the sets of eyes on me to watch me play. And that team camaraderie of what you felt, you knew that they all wanted you to do well. We all got on so well. Our team captain, Ada, she was just incredible as well. And they were like, Dan, if it comes down to the last putt, you've got to do the praying mantis. If you hold that putt, you've got to do the praying mantis on the 18th green, or the last green. And I remember I had this 6'5" Irish caddy. All his family was there as well. We got on great. My mum and dad had come over, and it was coming down the last, and I needed this like 12-foot putt to win the Vagliano trophy. First time I think we'd won it in a number of years as well. And it went in, and I just remember sort of launching my putter, doing this praying mantis thing, and the photographers went, my caddy was over, and it was on the back of the a newspaper, me doing this stupid praying mantis thing, which was meant to just be a private joke in between the team, because I always did like lunges, like this was how I'd warm up, and I would just lunge around the place, just like a complete joker. And it became this thing that like, you've got to do it. That has to be your thing. Like there's no, so I ended up just doing this praying mantis lunge, and it being on the back of the papers. And that was ended up what I was known to do when, and then obviously I got chosen for Curtis Cup, which was absolutely incredible. We had Michelle Wee, we've got Paula Kramer, we had, Nikki Timmins was actually my foursomes partner, and she's another Kent girl. Now that's never been done before. We had 2 Kent girls in the England, we had international GBNI squad, and we were foursomes partners. So it was like fantastic to share that with someone that was from my county, or like from each other's county and everything. And we she ended up having Michelle Wee as her singles match, and Michelle Wee was 13.
Yeah, she was a talent
at the time.
Phenom.
And oh my goodness, I remember Nikki just going to me, "Can you believe it? She's 13 years old, and it's taking me like a driver 5-iron to get to her drive." And she said, and Nikki's obviously a fantastic player. She's actually just starting again. We've been told that she's starting to come back to golf as well. So fingers crossed I'm going to see her soon again. I haven't seen her for years. So Curtis Cup was incredible. Up at Formby, fantastic crowds. Oakley came up and supported me. They handed out loads and loads of free glasses, like to my family and everything like that. So that was really nice. Glenmuir were our clothing sponsors back then. So, it was all very tidy and
looking.
Neat. It was very professional looking.
Nice.
But it was one of the most amazing experiences as well as an amateur golfer to perform at the highest level on the highest stage that you can as an amateur. Was
and then you obviously
special.
move on to turn a professional in 2004. Straight
at
after
the end
it,
of
right?
straight
is that
after.
When a lot of the girls realise that I've gone as far as I can go with this one? This is the start of the pro journey, or do some of them stay?
I think, obviously Nikki and I were at the same point, but Nikki wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
She wanted to be a maths teacher. Golf was just something that she was good at, and that was fine. She didn't really have that drive to do it as a job. Whereas, and Emma Duggleby as well, who's actually just won today the Champion of Champions seniors event, which is county champions against other county champions, and she's just won the seniors event. So she's never turned professional, but she has been a fantastic amateur from the age of 14, 15 for England. So she's been in the England setup for years and years. For me, I knew that I just wanted to do it as a job. I wanted to go out on the big stage. I wanted to play out on tour. I still wanted to travel. And I went off to tour school in La Manga. I gained my tour card. I want to say I finished quite high up in tour school in that first time I went. I can't remember. I want to say it was like top 10. It might have been top 5. I'm not sure. And started the tour straight away. I think, that year that I got in GBNI, or I knew that I'd been chosen for Curtis Cup, you have to have a plan. Whether that's to stay amateur, but I knew I eventually wanted to be a professional. So to achieve that, I knew it was going to be then the winter was going to be going out to La Manga and going for tour school. So that was my plan. I entered and I went to tour school as a professional. You can go as an amateur, but if you get into final stage, you can go. But if you gain your tour card as an amateur in that final stage, you can't have a tour card. You have to make the decision before. And so then you're in. So before I even got to final stage, I was like, no, I'm turning pro. So I went there as a professional, and that was my first professional event. And And then I had the likes of Becky Brereton out there already. She was doing incredibly well. She was like top 5 in Europe by the time I went out on tour. She'd been out there for about 4 years prior to me. And she was my bridesmaid. She was my best friend out on tour. So I had really good connections out there. I knew where I was going to stay. I stayed with them. Laura Davis was part of the group that they all hung around with. So I got to see her a few times. It was a real baptism of fire. And I think, like I said to you, that regardless of what I achieved on tour, because the people that I hung around with, Laura Davis, Trish Johnson, it was Kirsty Taylor, the older, we called her Angry Taylor. She was the one that got angry. And then there was the other one that had a big bust. So we used to call her whatever Taylor. And then, there was all of these bigger names that had achieved so much more than I had. And so it never really felt like I had achieved what they had achieved. So it wasn't really worth talking about. And it wasn't really until I got, I suppose, become a mum and you have this whole separate life, and that you realise that, well, actually I've played a sport up to professional level. I got on tour and I've done it. There's actually a very small percentage of people that get to do that in any sport, and I should be proud. And then I get embarrassed, so then I don't talk about it anyway.
Well, you need to talk about it, because I need to grill you on your how the professional career went. So you're a 3rd in the English Open, 2nd in the Scottish Open, number of top 10s, Norwegian Open and the Welsh Open. Anything else, or any of them that stick out in particular?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Scottish Open was it was fantastic. It was at the Carrick. I was staying with Claire Queen, who is another really good friend of mine that I've been up to see her in Scotland and Edinburgh. And actually, we were texting yesterday, saying that we have to meet up again. So, the Carrick, lovely golf course right on the Loch Lomond estate, and I made 7 birdies in the last 8 holes. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get a paycheck. This is amazing. But I wasn't really lying anywhere to have a position. So that night before, I was excited. I'd been on the road, I think, for about 5 weeks, and I wanted to get home and see John and my mum and dad. And I'm really a real home person as well. And I had changed my flight to a slightly early one because I was off really early. And I thought, that's fine, I can get there. It didn't cost me anything. I'm going to get the earlier flight home. I'm not in a big position or anything. So I had got off the course, signed this card, and everyone was like, oh my God, Dan, that's amazing. Like, what an incredible. And I was like, I know, right? I just couldn't do anything wrong. It was amazing. Got in my little car that was a rental, started driving to the golf course. I'd had a drink with Claire. I'd said goodbye. Thanks for having me and hosting me. We stayed at the Carrick Hotel. Got to the airport just at the point where I'm about to hand my keys over to the car, and the tour ring me and they go, Danielle. And I was like, hey, what's up? You've finished 2nd. And I was like, you what? And they were like, yeah, the presentation is in 50 minutes. If you're not here, we have to fine you. And I was like, what? It's like, I can't earn this money and then go and lose it. So I kind of snatched the keys back from the guy, and I was like, I'll bring it back later. So, and then I ended up literally bombing it back, and I got back, pulled into the car park, abandoned the car, not even into a space, and just legged it towards, and made, as I was hearing my name, I made it and just went straight out and just waved and managed to not get a fine. So I was just, I could have sat there and really enjoyed the fact I'd seen my name go up the leaderboard. But no, I was excited to be getting home. I didn't think that it was, I didn't think it was going to get me to 2nd place. So that really sticks out as something really fond, like a really exciting sort of 2nd place finish. I also was in the final group for the Welsh ladies as well with Laura Davis. So, I played well on the Saturday, and I remember getting my draw, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in the final group with Laura Davis. Oh my God. John was like, I'm coming down. I'm coming to Amsterdam, watch this. And this was at the McGuinness. I haven't probably said that right, but the McGuinness, near Cardiff golf club. So to have the crowd that were clearly there to see Laura, but to have them follow round for a whole 18 holes, I finished 3rd in the Welsh. And I was really pleased. I was really pleased with that. Yes, obviously I would have loved to have won it, but to be in the final group with someone like Laura Davis, and have John come and watch
Was it a
me
bit like
was
the kind of the
incredible
tiger
as well.
effect? You know, these like the tigers in the last group, and you're playing with them, and it's
Yeah,
so
like
obviously so intimidating because of the size of the crowds. So it must be similar to that.
yeah. Well, you know what's intimidating about
Yeah.
Laura Davis is just the size of her. You know, you go on the tee
Yeah.
and you look like a child. You literally look like she's brought her daughter out to have a little game with, and she picks up her driver and she like smacks it into the ground, and just duffs up a load of turf and just pops her tee like a ball on top of the turf. She doesn't even bother putting her tee in the ground. She just
I've
smashes
seen that
the
video.
tee.
She
Like,
got mega
it's
backlash for
quite-
that, didn't she? She's like,
Yeah.
she's going around the world just ruining tees.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Who's
she
gonna
does
tell
it
her?
like, who's literally gonna go
Yeah,
up?
exactly, yeah.
I'm not gonna tell her.
Find the apprentice
I'll
and
be
tell
like,
them.
whoa, you can do that. So, yeah. So that was obviously really special. I've got another really memorable. I finished 8th in the Danish Open, and this was after a real issue that I had on the driving range. I turned up final round, took my first little chip off the driving range, and a stone flicked up and hit me in this eye, so in my leading eye, and it went round the back of my eyeball. And I just turned around to my caddy and I just went, I've got a stone in my eye. And he went, just cry it out. And I was like, I was like this, I just don't think I can. It's like, this is not going to work. So we ended up having to go to the hospital. So I had like an hour and a half. I had to go off to the ambulance service that was at the golf club. They couldn't see anything, but they could see that it had scratched all the way round. Like when I was looking down, it was scratched all the way round. So they were like, I think you need to go off to the hospital. Go off to the hospital, which is luckily not far away. They give me some drops that start shrinking my eyeball to give the stone room and to wash it out, and put a blimmin' patch over my eye. And I come back and I tear up and I finish 4th. And I couldn't see anything out. So I'm like standing down, like I've got this patch over my eye and a pair of sunglasses. This eye's just weeping the whole time because it's just like not used to doing everything. And I said to my caddy at the time, I was like, Paul, I can't see where I'm lining up. And at that point, he just went, I'll do it all for you. And so we would sit there, discuss the shot, and he'd go 7-9, we're going to go on that thing. So I'd like go up to go up to it, and I'd stand there and I'd just be looking at the ball, and he'd go tiny little shuffle to the left, and I'd tiny shuffle to the left, and he'd be like, yeah, that looks good. Now just relax. Don't worry about it. You don't even know where I've aimed. You just hit it. And we played the whole 18 holes like that. And he did it for the putting because I lead with my left eye. So when I putt, I just literally tilt ever so slightly, but I lead with my left. And so by not having that, I was like, I can't see anything. I played blimmin' amazing. And everyone was like, oh my God, we call you One Eye Willie. It was just, I mean, I had like a menagerie of like names that people called me when I was on tour. But so I had like that going on. I said to Paul, do you think we should just patch up my eye every week?
Yes, so probably not.
And
no.
No, exactly. So yeah, I've got some real fond memories where it feels like even when you have your best moments on tour, they're probably not even going to be the best times that you've ever played. They're the times that your bad shot is not bad. You've just slightly misstruck it. It's not how good your best shot is. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons. Everyone can hit great shots. Everyone hits great chips. Everyone holes not everyone, but lots of people hole like a long putt around or something like that. It is how destructive your bad shot is. And if your bad shot is not destructive that week, you're probably going to have a really good finish. That you haven't hit. I mean, there's obviously a degree of luck, but there's not really a great degree of luck. If you're hitting slightly off strikes and they're just short of where you've actually aimed, you're probably not going to be in trouble. And I think that was the difference. Once I started to understand, it's actually not how great the great shots are; it's actually how great the bad shots are. If your bad shots that you've hit don't really stick in your mind, that's when you've probably played your best and you're going to have your best finishes.
The error, That's what they tell you. I'm
Exactly.
a big compounder. I'll spray balls all over the place, and then try to pull off hero shots that I've not got in my arsenal. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. And I know, and as you're saying, like
we
obviously
all
the
do it.
stories from, I've had some kind of semi-decent rounds and playing the summit. See some of the best stories and the best laughs I've had on golf courses have been when we've been playing down the coast on a November when the wind's blowing a hoolie and you get blown about the place. And it's it can be really entertaining, but
It is. It really is. And because I tried to get my daughter into it, and I was trying to say to her, it's actually not about playing well. The memories I've got of growing up are actually of like the hilarities that happen on the golf course. It's the mistakes that you make, the stupid shots you hit. I mean, I've hit my dad on the golf course before. He was watching me play an event, and I'd sent him down to see where my ball was going down the left side of the fairway. And I said, just stand over there because then you'll be able to look round and you'll be able to see it. And he was like, okay, darling, okay. So off he went, and it came straight off the heel of my and it was like an arrow. And he saw it and he started going backwards. He tripped over a stake tree. As his leg come up, the ball pummeled straight into the side of his leg, and he went down like a wounded animal. And I just remember thinking of if he'd have stayed still, it wouldn't have hit him. It's because he saw it and he was like edging to get out of the way, but it was coming round. All of those things. I mean, there has been so many funny things. He's also fallen in a bunker. He's been chatting away to me and just fallen straight into a bunker. We had to call like the buggy to come and collect him because he'd actually done his ligaments. And I was trying to say to Mary, it's not actually, it's the laughs that I've had on a golf course. When I recently got back into it and I started playing with a friend called Dave Stansfield, and we went to Bearsted and we hadn't seen each other for ages and we were just having a real catch up. Got on the first tee and I hadn't hit a ball for like 13 years. And the golf manager from the local club came out and he was like, oh, Danielle, are you back playing? Oh, that's so good. I was so excited. We're on Instagram now. Can I take a video? And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I said, yeah, that's great. Sure. Shank straight out onto the railway. And I looked at him and he went, I tell you what, we're going to take a photo. And I said, yeah, that.
Don't post that one.
I know. I was like, oh, that sounds great.
Hey,
thanks.
playing golf on camera is not for everybody, is it?
No, it definitely wasn't for me after 13 years as well. So
you're back.
Yeah, it was good.
You're back playing county now, are you?
Yeah, back playing county golf, playing off 1.2. But I think, like I've mentioned, I threw myself into it quite a bit last year. I practiced lots. I got into really having a look technically at my swing and doing a few changes that I just didn't really want to do while I was on tour. And I just didn't feel like I played well. I felt like I couldn't control the ball. I was just putting too much spin on it. And so I was like hitting this huge draw. And I'm normally a kind of little picky offy fade. It's it's a weak shot, but it's really, really consistent. And I think because I worked so hard and then struggled, I started to think I'm just not enjoying this at the moment. And I didn't play all winter. And then I played a couple of times down at Prince's with some friends, and then went and played Chart Hills with friends, and did not do any practice. I turned up to county champs. I came joint second. I then didn't touch a club from county champs until county week, and played at North Hants Golf Club, which is Justin Rose's golf club. Absolutely beautiful. I could end my days playing golf there. It was absolutely stunning golf course. And I've actually played really well this year, and my handicap's come down. I would say pitching is my real downfall at the moment. I can hit my driver, I can hit my irons, bunker shots absolutely fine. As soon as I get 40 yards towards the green at the moment, I feel like my rhythm and my connection from arms, hips, or weight, or I don't know, because I'm not a technical golfer. I'm a field golfer, and if I'm not doing a lot of practice and feeling it, then I end up losing that side of it, which is what's happened because I've not been practicing. But I've actually, my enjoyment for the game has every time I've stepped out on the golf course this year, I've absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I think that's just the way it is for me at the moment.
It never goes away.
Well, I don't know about that. It definitely felt like it left me a few weekends ago. Oh, but there you go. It's one of those things. But I'm loving it. I really love it. I'm doing quite a bit of mountain biking at the moment with my daughter. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm throwing myself into that and enjoying the exercise and getting fitter and stronger and stuff. So yeah, we've been doing a bit of that.
So we spoke about beforehand how we normally try to do a bit of a chat about your career, some of the stories from the tour. But because the podcast is called Going OB, we're going to take this out of bounds for the next wee minute, right? So give me a number between 31 and 50.
41.
Right. What's your favourite non-golf activity to do at a golf resort? That's a bit of a strange one.
At a
you
golf
can tell
resort.
I got my questions for Chat GPT, can't you?
Yeah. Well, I probably, honestly, to maybe go to a spa. I think I actually really do love a spa. My favourite activity at a golf resort that isn't golf related, it would probably be spa and having a few drinking games, game of cards. Love a game of cards. So it would be spa, game of cards, a few drinks.
Balls. Yeah.
And then try and go and hit a few balls.
Right. Give me another number from 71 to 100. 82.
Okay, 82.
If you could travel any point in history, when and where would you go?
Oh my God, that's such a difficult one because I've not been able to prepare for that. Oh, okay. I would absolutely love, I can't think of the dates, Downton Abbey, whatever era that is, right? I don't want to be a poor person. I want to be a person that is in beautiful clothing, being driven around by horse-drawn carriages, drinking tea out of beautiful bone china and experiencing, I suppose, that real, well, when I say it's almost like a clean lifestyle, isn't it? Your food is from the land. There's nothing, at that day and age being imported. Everything's seasonal. It's being cooked fresh in the kitchens below
an upstairs
you.
Person.
And yeah, I'm an upstairs person. I suppose like it would probably be no technology, really rural, like I'd love to go back to that sort of time where it was like very localized, everything was much more simple, way more family orientated. The world seemed huge, or actually you couldn't even fathom the sort of travel we do now and things like that. Simple life, I think. Yeah. If I could go back to that,
I don't
sort
you're alone there. I think there's a lot of people that think nowadays is far too. It's too crowded. It's too hectic. We're rushing for here, there, and everywhere. I mean, I have constant conversations with my wife that we just pass each other on the doorstep. I'm taking Oscar out to training or doing something. She's got the wee one. She's working. I'm working. It's just difficult. Whereas I suppose in those days, you're with your family. That was it, really.
I think that's it, isn't it? I think it's really easy to. Well, I dream about that quite a lot of going back to. I'd love a little small holding. I'd absolutely love a pygmy goat and some chickens, and to wake up in the morning and just know that actually I just need to go out and do those things. I need to cook a dinner. I need to make sure the kids are educated or on school on time or home educate, and then you're just with your family, you have your friends, and you just, I don't know, a bit more community. I would love that sort of, but to go back to Downton Abbey and have that bit of luxury, I think I'd like that.
Yes, so you want it nice and simple, but you want to be an upstairs person, so you don't have the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't want to do I do want to do the hard work. No, I would love a small holding. My husband and I would have always said that.
Maybe one day.
It's one of those things.
Future plans. It's good to have future plans.
Maybe.
So, right, last couple. I'm going to pick one for you because I'm interested in this one. So you've got a Dream 4 ball, right? Who are you picking and where are you playing?
Oh my goodness. So I have never
Okay.
played St Andrews. I'd love to go and play St Andrews. Dream 4-ball. It would have to be. It would have to be my dad, because he offers so many lols, so many laughs. I would absolutely love. This is so awful, really. I'd love to play with Tiger Woods, and I'd also love to play with Gary Player. So it would be me and my dad
At St Andrews
versus those two.
They would smoke, yeah.
At
They
St
would
Andrews,
smoke, yes.
and I'd.
Yeah, I was going to
Oh,
say,
we would
yeah.
have a ton of shots. We would
Tell
have
them
a
you're playing
ton
off
of
18 or something at
shots.
that point.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I would probably love to play with a menagerie of people that were not golfers. I'm trying to think. I mean, you'd probably love to play with someone like Winston Churchill and just see whether you could get anything from him on like what he was like as a person. Like some of the backstories. I do love history. I love World Wars, like history, like when the kids go through that and like learning that at school and things like that. Yeah, you'd probably love something like that, to be honest. But golf wise, yeah, it would have to be Tiger Woods and someone like Gary Player or Jack Nicklaus. But I definitely want my dad there for the
my
lols.
dad. When I was asked this question a year ago, I picked my dad as one of them. John Daly is the other one. And then I went a bit off topic, but I picked Ali McCoist because Ali McCoist's like an absolute legend. And he plays at he's a member at the Carrick and he plays at Loch Lomond. So what I was hoping I would have done by saying I'd like to play with Ali McCoist is that he would get in touch with me and be like, Craig, get a hold of your dad. We'll get John Daly. We'll go play up at Loch Lomond. So it never happened. It never happened.
God, could you imagine it? Did it not?
Exactly.
Well, you've let it out there again.
A boy can
Maybe
dream,
the more that
Super Ali, if you're listening to this, exactly.
you need
Super
to
Ali,
keep
if you're
hashtagging
listening
it
to
in.
this, I'm still wanting a game of golf, so make it happen. Right, last one before I let you go. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Okay. Oh God,
it's embarrassing. I was going to say it'll be
like
embarrassing.
A Virgin. Yeah, just because like who doesn't sing that when they've had a few drinks? It's probably something like that. Or let me ask John, what was that song that we had as our first
I can't believe you've had
dance
to
when
ask
we
your
got
husband
married?
that question. That is all right. Okay.
Well, it's because he chose it. We both chose it, right? Who's it by? But so basically the song, this was to our first dance in front of all of our family. When I think of you, I touch myself.
The Divinals.
By
the
Divinals.
That was very appropriate.
That was our first dance. So that was our first dance song. I'd probably sing one or t'other.
My embarrassing one's Material Girl by Madonna. Love that song.
Oh my God, really?
You found all that stuff.
Love that song.
Yeah,
to the point where
that's brilliant.
It's now become a standing joke in the house. And my son's doing guitar lessons at school and he came bursting in the door the other day. He's like, Dad, we're playing Material Girl in the guitar class. I was like, oh, brilliant. Everybody will know.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But listen, these classics never go out of fashion, do they? And Madonna had some absolute bangers. So, yes.
Oh, she absolutely did.
Almost everything she did was gold.
There we go.
Well, Danielle, not anymore. No, I know exactly.
Not anymore.
It was really good to speak to you, and I'm glad that Tracy put me in touch with you because it's been good to have a chat with you and find out a bit of your kind of life story and stuff like that. And you didn't disappoint. She said you would be good. She said you need to get on. So yeah, this is
well. Thank you for having me, and thank you for making it happen.
You're more than welcome.
So
I
appreciate
hoping,
that.
Obviously, the Solheim Cup's coming up this week, so go Team Europe. We will never back the Americans on this podcast. I'm talking to you, Logan and Eric, from previous generations. We are fully blue and yellow on this podcast.
Blue, yellow.
So I'll maybe give you a shout next week or the week after once it's done and see if you fancy come back on. We could do a bit of a recap and hopefully be celebrating another European win over those Americans.
I hope so. That team looks incredible. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited.
Yes,
So
go
that's
Team
really
Europe.
good. Go Team Europe.
Perfect, Danielle. Thanks very much. It's been really good to have you on. And as I said, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. Cheers.
Oh, well, look, thank you very much for having me.
Stay on.
Thanks a lot. See you later.